Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a pretty cool piece of software that was actually sent out to me by a viewer. And this piece of software, as you can probably tell by what we have on the screen right now, is called 3DNA Desktop. And this is basically a 3D desktop environment for your existing Windows operating system. And this is actually quite similar to Microsoft Bob, at least the concept of it is, in that it is not an operating system in and of itself, but it's actually a desktop environment that you run on top of Windows that gives you some more functionality and kind of gives you a new way of launching your Windows programs. It's kind of intended to be a desktop replacement in that you can basically do all of the normal things you would do from your Windows desktop from within this program, but it just gives you a completely new look of doing those things. This software is actually from the early 2000s. It was released around 2002, so kind of 1 year after Windows XP came out. And this is their website right here. This is where you would go to actually download it. The actual website, 3dna.net, is not up anymore. It's kind of been sold to one of those domain parking companies that just kind of throws like a bunch of advertisements and surveys on it. So the website itself is not up anymore, but you can access it by going through the Wayback Machine, and that's because this company actually went out of business. And the company went out of business, but I believe the website actually stayed online for years after that. This is kind of evident in the fact that if we go to this 2004 snapshot right here, you see this is from June 11th, 2004, and take a look at how the site looks, right? Well, next up here, I have a snapshot from 2011, and it looks pretty much exactly the same. Even the copyright date down here has not been changed. It's still advertising version 1.1. If I kind of switch back here to 2004, really the only thing that is different between these two snapshots is the design of the download button and kind of this bar over here. You guys can kind of see that that is changing, and also the featured download over here has also been changed as well. But the actual version, like you would think, between 2004 and 2011, if this company was still actually in business, that they would have made a newer version of their program than version 1.1, but that is still the version that is advertised here. And this is where you would actually go to download 3DNA Desktop. Again, this is version 1.1 right here, which includes the Loft world. Now, there was basically a free demo version of this program, and there's also a paid version that cost $29.99, which included some extra features. It had some add-on worlds, and there's also some advertisements in the free version, just kind of advertising this website and kind of where you can buy the full version. Obviously, you can't buy the full version of the program because the company is just not around anymore, so we can only actually download the free version. One of the other features of this program, and basically something that this company did that I think is pretty cool, is they actually partnered with other organizations. And basically what you could do is you could contact them by emailing this partners@3dna.net email address, and they would actually kind of work out a deal where they would make a custom version of 3DNA Desktop for your organization. And down here they actually have a list of all of their partners that they have worked with. So you see down here we have companies like MSI, GameSpy, CNET, and even PC Gamer as well. Now, the person that actually submitted this to me over on Twitter actually sent me a custom version of 3DNA Desktop that was created for PC Gamer magazine. So we're going to be taking a look at that custom version and see how it compares to the baseline free version that you can actually download from their website. So right here I actually have a virtual machine set up, and we are running Windows 2000 basically because we haven't really used the Windows 2000 VM on this channel in a while. So we're going to just kind of try that out and just see how it works. Now, I have tested this before, so I kind of know how it actually runs on Windows 2000, but let's just go ahead and run the installation file right here. So this is again the baseline free version that you could download from their website. This isn't the customized PC Gamer version. Right here it actually performs a hardware check where it kind of checks the compatibility of the hardware you have on your system, to see if it's actually going to work with 3DNA Desktop. And you can see here that it's found that we have 1 gig of RAM, which is much greater than the recommended 384 megabytes. For some reason, the CPU is seeing it as a 94 megahertz CPU. even though this is like a i7 7700K, clocked at like 4 gigahertz. It does recommend 1 gigahertz. The minimum is 500 megahertz, but it does actually still work. It does allow us to get past the screen, but for some reason it's seeing this at like then I'm running a 94 megahertz CPU, which is even below the Windows 2000 system requirements, which is kind of interesting. For the VRAM, we are at 64 megabytes, which is just at the recommended amount, so we are good there. And right here is this product registration page which you actually have to enter. It is kind of annoying. They basically make you register this, because if you cancel out of this, it says that are you sure you want to quit the world setup wizard, which we don't want to do. So you have to actually go through this and put in your email address. And this is kind of where with the whole CPU speed thing, it does recognize this like an Intel i7 7700K at 4.2 gigahertz, and then it says 94 megahertz over here. So going into the start menu here, we can go into programs, and there's a new 3DNA program group. So we'll go ahead and just launch 3DNA desktop. So you saw it loading there, and one of the things that it does is it actually comes up with this error saying insufficient 3D graphics memory. Now, I've tried multiple ways of disabling 3D acceleration in VMware and changing the actual VRAM amount multiple times, and I wasn't really able to get past this message. But the good thing is that you don't actually have to click close here. If you click restart or if you hit close, it will actually exit the program. But what you can do is actually just kind of drag this message box off the screen and actually just go into the program, and it works 100% as if that message wasn't even there. So here it is. This is the 3DNA desktop environment. Now, unlike Microsoft Bob, this actually doesn't take up the entire display, and what I mean by that is the taskbar and start menu is still here. So you can actually use the taskbar and start menu just as you normally would, but instead of having the Windows desktop with all of the icons, that has basically been replaced with this interface here. And you can see that it is totally 3D. I mean, we're basically in this little loft here, and these are all of the different areas of this program that you can launch, different programs. There's even a browser section to launch different websites. And but let's go ahead and actually go up here to this little tower here. This is kind of the options station where you can go and view the help index, view frequently asked questions, even go to the tutorial world. And if we go through that, I've actually kind of been through this very briefly, but the tutorial world actually quits out of the loft world that we were just in, and it loads this guided tutorial world where it kind of just shows you how to actually use the program with these prompts right here. And if you press Control W at any time, it will come up with the world chooser right here. And you can see that, like I said, the only two worlds are the loft, which was that world we were just in, and the tutorial world. So we're just going to go ahead and go back to the loft world and hit OK, since there's basically a lot more to actually show there. But this was one of the benefits of purchasing the full version of the program, is there were more worlds for you to actually take a look at. There were kind of add-ons that came along with that $30 version that you're not going to get here. So also in this kind of options thing here, you can kind of hit this arrow button down here and actually switch over to the user options, and you also have a world options right here. And yes, as you can probably tell, there are sound effects in this program, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is where you would actually go to stop 3DNA. If you want to actually quit out of the program, this is where you would actually do it from this user options menu. So basically, you just move around with the arrow keys, or in my case, the WASD keys. So you can really only, like, pressing A and D kind of just rotate you around. So it's not like you can, have like a super smooth motion. It's basically just gonna, every time that you press the key, it's gonna slightly move you to the left or the right. You can also use the mouse. If you hold on the right mouse button, you can kind of drag around and just kind of pan and get a little bit more of a smooth motion. And so this is actually very useful for when you're like standing up to like this browser menu, for instance. Instead of just using the arrow keys or the WASD keys to like move around, you can hold the right mouse button and kind of just move around in a little bit of a smoother, kind of precise motion. So let's go ahead and just kind of take a look at the different areas of this program and what each of them do. So starting off on the very left here, you can see these posters on the wall are the advertisements that I mentioned before. So we're going to start with the media section over here, and basically this is your hub for all of your media related programs and items. So if we go up to it here, you see there are a few different items on the little table here, and this is very similar to Microsoft Bob. They all correspond to individual programs. So it's kind of using a 3D object to represent a Windows program. And what's cool is if you right click on these, you can actually customize these. So let's say that I want this to not open up the volume control. I can hit create shortcut right here, and then I can actually browse on my computer to whatever program that I want to. So let's say that I want to go into local disk, WinNT, and let's say that I want to have this open up explorer.exe. So I can hit that and hit OK, and then you can enter a label. So let's say that I want this to say Windows Explorer. I can press OK, and now this is going to say Windows Explorer instead of volume control, and when I double click on it, it will open up a Windows Explorer window. So that is how easy it is to actually customize existing items that are already kind of set up by 3DNA for you. What you can also do is on these little wall panels here, create your own shortcuts and kind of create your own icons or pictures to represent them. So if I right click on this right here, I can hit create shortcut, and I can do the exact same thing. So let's say I want to go into local disk C, WinNT, and let's say I want this one to open up the help application. So we'll hit OK, and now I can change, put this label again. We'll say help. I can hit OK. And it already has the icon that just basically pulls from the program itself. So it just kind of pulls that help icon from the program. But what you can also do, just to make things a little bit easier for you, is instead of having to kind of browse through the file tree, you can actually right click on this and instead go to the shortcut chooser. And this is a graphical interface created by 3DNA that just kind of makes things a little bit easier for you. So instead of having to browse through the file tree, you can then, like, let's say I want to pick something from the start menu. I can hit start menu, I can go to all users, I can go into accessories, and let's say I want this to be the calculator shortcut. I can press calculator, I can drag it over here, or just hit this button rather. And what you can do is actually add multiple shortcuts. So instead of just having to do these one by one, let's say I want WordPad and Paint, I can hit OK. And now it's going to auto-populate this section here with all of those programs that I just selected. So now we have one for Calculator, Help, WordPad, and Paint. And they all work exactly as you would expect, launching this program from the desktop. You also have a little media player right here if you wanted to kind of play some music on your system. This just opens up Windows Media Player, but I don't have any actual music on this installation right now, so I don't really have anything to play. But you can actually kind of control that from within 3DNA, which is pretty cool. But there's also this game right here called Hoop Shot. And Hoop Shot is kind of the mini game that I was talking about, where it's literally a basketball game. You play it with the keyboard and mouse, so it's kind of, oddly played, because basically what you do is you double click on the basketball to pick it up, and you just kind of move around. You can kind of aim with your mouse here, and then you actually hold your left mouse button to kind of control how much force that you want the ball to have when you throw it. And when you let go, it will just throw, and in that case it just went completely over the hoop. But yeah, so that's basically 3DNA basketball. The ball will actually come down here. Let me go ahead and actually just hit stop the game here. We'll go ahead and just stop game. And so yeah, the basketball can actually be moved around and taken out of the game area. So we'll go ahead and just kind of you can also kind of fly and jump as well. If you hold down the space bar, you'll actually kind of fly around. Yeah, that is the only, I believe that's the only little mini game, although this doesn't really need to have mini games. It's not really a game per se, but it is nice that they have a little mini game that you can play when you're bored. Over here to the browser section, this basically acts as your favorites bar in Internet Explorer or whatever browser that you use, because it literally is just a bunch of different panes where you can right click on them, hit choose web page, and you could type in whatever website that you want and hit OK. And then we'll actually try to load I believe it's actually going to load a snapshot of the web page like it did over here. So this is the 3dna.net, and when you actually press and hold your left mouse button, it will actually give you a preview of the website without opening up your browser. So, and you can also do that to move it around as well. So let's say I want the 3DNA page to be over here. I can do that. This right here is the 3dna.myway.com, which is like a portal, which is kind of similar to like, something like yahoo.com. You've got like a website directory, news, so kind of like a landing page with a search function as well. So yeah, that's that. What you can also do if you wanted to kind of automate things is click on choose favorites down here, and it will bring up a web favorites chooser, which is again very similar to that other interface that we took a look at in the media section, where you can just take multiple different favorites that you have here from your browser. So let's say you wanted to add like all of your browser favorites to this without having to go through like each individual tile. You can just add all of these. And we can even go into me, like let's say we want to add all of these, hit add, and so there's not enough panes here, so it did actually max out, which is kind of what I thought it was going to do. But what I can do now is hit OK, and now all of these should auto-populate with, you can see it's actually frozen here as it's going to try to keep up. But now it will actually start to populate all of those favorites that I just selected in this browser interface here. So there we go. So now it's actually going to load up every single one of these here. It's not going to, again, for some reason, it's not able to actually pull the capture itself, even though, like I said, we can actually go to the site itself in Internet Explorer. But yeah, so that is how the browser section works. It's kind of, like I said, a replacement for your browser's favorites bar. Now, before we move on to the application section, I do want to kind of briefly touch on the interface kind of above each of these different areas. You'll see that they have the title of whatever area that it is, as well as these buttons to the left and right of it. And this center thing is actually like a button where you can kind of click on this and kind of jump to those areas. So like for browser over here, if I was like way back here and I wanted to get up and be right in front of the browser area, instead of having to go up and kind of position myself perfectly, I can just click on this browser button and I will be exactly centered right in front of it and have full access to everything. What you can also do is, like if I'm at the browser area and I want to go to the media area, instead of having to go over here, I can just hit this little M button up here and it will jump to the media area. Same thing for the browser. There's that B button. There is the O button for the options thing here, and there's also the G button for the games. And you can see that the game Hoopshot over here has the exact same thing. And the A button corresponds to the applications. So yeah, so this is now the applications area, and you can also kind of go through this help options thing. You can also press this down button to actually have it go into the ground to kind of get out of the way. So the applications area has this scrolling marquee up here at the top, and you can see over here that they actually have a couple of different shortcuts already set up for me. Now, I didn't actually put any of these here. They just kind of did that for me. But it's very similar to the media section in that you've got this little table laid out with a ton of different items that correspond to different applications. Up here on the wall, it's basically exactly the same functionality as the other side, which is the media section. It's exactly the same functionality as what I just showed you here. It's just much larger. So that is basically the bottom room of this specific world right here. There's also this kind of loft area, which is kind of where the world gets the name. So this little loft area. So this huge box right here, I can actually right click on this and I can choose a picture. So let's say that I've copied over my channel banner to this VM. Let's go ahead and actually choose that. And you can also choose to create a shortcut for each image. So this kind of acts as both a kind of nice picture that you can have on the wall, but you can also have it correspond to a shortcut. So yeah, that is kind of what you can do with this giant. This is kind of like the largest box that you can customize in this entire world. So this is definitely made for like a large picture, maybe like a family picture or something like that. All of these here are basically these things on the walls, and these ones right here and over here on these walls all work exactly the same as what I showed off down here. Now the doors here work exactly the same as they did in Microsoft Bob, in that they take you to different worlds. When I get up close to this, it kind of changes changes, to this little, moving graphic here. And to go to a different world, I'd have to double click on the door, but there's not really another world for me to go to aside from the tutorial world, so I guess we could do that. So I can hit OK, and now that door is going to, correspond to the tutorial world. So now there's no door in like this world. This one here is like not really set up, so the only way of actually getting out of the tutorial world is pressing Control W, which you can do even from the loft world. Like if I didn't want to even use the doors and I had like multiple different worlds set up, I could just press Control W, I could choose whatever world that I want, and I could swap right over to it. So coming back down here to the bottom floor, one of the other things that I want to show you is within this options menu here, and that is the theme chooser. Now the theme chooser is basically allows you to select from 3 different themes. It's not really going to create a whole new world, but like right now I'm in the loft theme. Let's say I want to go to the modern theme. I can press that and then hit OK, and now the entire look of this area is going to completely change to a more modern look. There's also this theme right here, which is called Classic, and it just once again gives it a whole different look. So you could kind of pick which one that you really liked and kind of have it set this way for you, or you could also randomize it, which would just pick a random theme every time that the program starts up. There's also the Sky Chooser, which you can choose between 3 different skies, and there's also a dynamic Sky Chooser as well, but that is a feature that is not available in this demo version. This is a pop-up that I've seen a lot as I was kind of going around, prior to recording this video, because there are a decent amount of features that are not available with the free version. So we're just going to hit Not Yet here. But I can change this, like let's say I want to go to Angel Canyon instead of the Dawn Sky. I can hit OK, and if you see out here, now the sky is going to change. It kind of looks a little bit different. It kind of, has this nice canyon background, which is definitely pretty cool. So yeah, you can really make this program, basically yours. I mean, you can modify it in a couple of different ways. It is pretty cool. Now, one of the other cool features, which is again very much like Microsoft with Bob, is if you hit Unlock Objects. What this will do is it will allow you to modify all of these objects and move them around to wherever you want. So this couch here, I can double click it. Now I am moving the couch around. Let's say I want the couch to be right here. I can drop it right, I can drop it right there, have it fall down the stairs. Yeah, so you can basically move around, not everything, like I can't take the staircase and like move it around, I can't take the windows. You can also, if you mess up like I just did, hit reset objects and it moves everything back. So that is a brief look at the baseline 3DNA desktop version. What I want to do now is show you guys, well, basically what happens when I try to actually launch the PC Gamer special release of 3DNA, and that is that it basically crashes. What you can do is actually, and this is probably the best that you guys are going to get, this is, I believe, an older version of 3DNA, but basically what happens is the program freezes up here. You can kind of get some of these shortcuts to work, like I can click on About here and that opens up the About screen. I can double click on the tutorial, which we're not going to do, but I can't actually like move around in the program. I'm even pressing like the arrow keys, I'm like moving the mouse, so it's basically frozen. That is kind of unfortunate. This is something that just did happen. Like I tried to run this off camera, and again I tried multiple ways to kind of modify like my hardware settings and things like that. Didn't really do anything. So I might have to actually try this like on real hardware and see if it works any better. This might be a video for the 98 PC. So if you guys want to see that, be sure to let me know down in the comments. But still, this is how this custom version of 3DNA looks. You guys can kind of get a brief glance at it here. You see there's some PC Gamer ads on the wall as opposed to the regular 3DNA ads. There's also like some images over here that were not normally in the standard 3DNA version. There's a whole different world and a whole different theme as well. But pretty much the actual functionality of the program itself, which is going to be like how you actually launch programs and how you actually customize things, those are going to be pretty much the same, I would guess, because it is the exact same program. It's just modified with, some extra graphics and themes to make it more tailored towards, whatever organization that they were partnering with, in this case, PC Gamer. But there you have it, guys. That is an in-depth look at 3DNA Desktop. Again, just a very cool 3D desktop replacement and enhancement software for Windows. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to get subscribed down below and turn on those channel notifications if you haven't already to get notified whenever that I upload new videos, which I do every single week on this channel. And as always, if you guys have any video, suggestions, this one, as I mentioned, was actually a video suggestion by a viewer over on Twitter. Be sure to leave those, suggestions or just any general comments that you guys have down below. If you guys maybe want to see this running on Windows 10 or on the 98 PC, be sure to let me know, as those comments definitely do help, and I always enjoy reading what you guys have to say. And as always, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. But this is their download page. This is a snapshot from 2006, and this is where you would go to actually download the website. Wow, not download the website.